Welcome back to the M3 podcast. I'm going to be very upfront. I'm a little tired today.
How come?
We've had a few things going on.
Just a couple, 2 tree.
Yeah. This is, I think Ricky was counting our 5th location for the M3 podcast.
There's a good chance I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the 5th one.
Yeah, we're sitting in our 2nd MMG location, and we've been full speed getting it ready. And I've been playing construction Bob the Builder today. So, I've had a lot of questions in the last 2-3 weeks posting about our 2nd location, and everyone's thinking that we're moving, and explain to them that that's not the case. Explain to them opening a sales forefront, and I think it just confuses a lot of people. So I want to kind of have a podcast in here and explain what we're doing here. And had a podcast recently with Bree, Emma, and Darby, just kind of about MMG lately, and from the marketing forefront. This one I kind of went from the sales forefront, and just all the things we have going on. So feel free, anybody wants to kick it off.
Yeah, we definitely have a few things going on. And most of the people that are looking from the outside in probably assume that we've had a sales team this whole time because we've been growing so fast, but that's not actually the case.
We've definitely tried a few salespeople, so I'm not going to say that sales team is not the word I would use. We've tried salespeople, and I think I will take fault at that not working. And I think it's just a lot. My thought process on this office was this is the movement of sales getting all the resources needed to succeed. And I think a lot of times people end up in roles that they're not given all the resources, they're not given what they need to succeed, and we have failed people on that forefront. So this year was kind of I think for probably 2 years we've tried to build sales from the bottom up, and I think we kind of took a step back and said, hey, what does it look like building it from the top down? And it comes with very heavy investment and a lot of money and a lot of legwork in the front side that doesn't pay off until you get it operational. So that's very unique for me to experience that, just because everything MMG-wise I feel like has been built from the ground up. So having the ability to build something the opposite way has been very different.
It's a little scary sometimes, isn't it?
Scary isn't the word I'd use.
No?
If I had to put a word with it, it'd probably be frustrating. Because I don't fear anything, but it's just, I've always been somebody that you kind of get out what you put in. It's when you're just, and I don't have patience, so I think that's probably my biggest problem, is understanding what that pathway looks like and what it looks like to get there. That I want things to happen yesterday. I think everybody that knows me is I'm very impatient. When I pull the trigger on something, I move very fast. And I think having this where it's like the things that need to happen take time. Mm-hmm. So
I mean, we're still moving pretty fast, though.
It's just not as fast as I would like.
Oh, it never is. When did we decide it's time for a 2nd location? When did you originally decide that?
I think it was right after I started.
What was that, 3 months ago?
Yeah.
That's like when we first started discussing it, which I think sometimes when I start talking about something, that's when I start it starts coming to reality, because I hate being somebody that talks about things and doesn't execute. And I think there's a lot of people out there that just speak on things, but they actually don't take action in any of it. That's probably my biggest pet peeve of anything also. If you listen to my stories, I think I hit on it probably once a week, if not every other week. But we'd start discussing it, and then I think I really started thinking about it at night, mapping out what that would look like, and that our current setup was not built for the outcome that we were looking for.
Yeah, as we were adding people in the current office and then talking about building out a big sales team, you kind of look around and you're counting the imaginary bodies, and it wasn't quite adding up.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of hard too on my side, when I know that the number one purpose of my job is to make sure no one sees the end of that runway. And I'm sitting there, I'm like looking at the end of it. And it's like, okay, we pulled the trigger on a second spot. And I think most business owners, probably most like financial people, would probably look at it as like, not the move. But in my thought process is open up that runway that everyone starts performing at a different level. It increases productivity across everybody, opens up new job opportunities within the walls. It opens up so many different avenues and so many different things for everyone around myself. And so I think that's when we started looking at places. And I will say that this is a lot different than what I was picturing, which you guys kind of shit on my dreams. And the first space I'd already I was ready to make a deal. I was ready to go.
Yeah, this space literally looks a lot different than that other space you were looking at.
Yes.
It sounded like a fishbowl. Like, I can't imagine working in that kind of space. I'm sorry. I like this one, though. You did good.
Yeah, the first one felt like very New York vibe, like all glass. Like,
Adam, what did you think about that one?
Yeah, I was the dream killer, unfortunately.
Somebody's got to do it. Thank you, by the way.
yeah. So then we look at how many places we look at in a matter of like 2 days.
At least 10.
So we go through like 10 of these spots, and some of them were like in basements and shit that I'm just like, no way. And it was funny when people, like these other agents, are like, well, would you be officing out here? I'm like, what does that mean? And like, well, if you just had people working in here, then it doesn't really matter. I'm like, no, it definitely matters. Like, I look at a full space as representation of a company, representation of everything. And I actually think this was the shittiest looking office that we walked through.
It definitely clearly needed the most work.
Yeah, definitely needed the most work out of anything we looked at.
It had stuff everywhere. If you think
It was
about
a
it's like
storage
room.
Yeah, it was a storage room. We walked in and Madison was like, I think this one could work. I was like, you lost your marbles.
It's like, have you seen any of the other ones we walked through?
I'm like, the other ones are nice. Like,
We could be started today.
Yeah. I'm like, I know the other ones were twice the price, but they're turnkey. I think the one that Adam was pushing the most was the most expensive one.
Of course.
Like, bar none.
It was all set up and ready to go.
Yeah, he's like, we could be in here working tomorrow.
That's right. It's true. We could have been.
Yeah.
We could have been.
Sometimes instant gratification is not the best option, though, right?
Look at where
look
we're
this
at now.
place.
I know.
Yeah,
It's even better.
Yeah.
It's even better.
And sometimes it's fun playing Bob the Builder for a few days,
I mean, sometimes. I get to play interior designer, Bob the Builder.
which you've been doing a good job at, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how many people come in our offices and ask who designs them. I was like, yeah, it's kind of my job too. So we keep seeing the way we're at. I'm just going to get to play interior designer all the time. Just keep designing more offices.
Hey, you do what you're good at, man.
Yeah. I keep having all my jobs taken away from me, so maybe that's a good thing.
I think that's kind of the growth of the entrepreneur, right? You're slowly taking those hats off and handing them off to somebody else. They can focus on it entirely.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a weird experience to go through. That a lot of times what you think work is supposed to look like, what you think that journey is supposed to look like, and it's amazing how many times that it changes. The overall vision can stay the same, but the pathway to get there changes so quickly that 12 months ago, this is not where I was thinking we'd be. And I think everyone asks me that all the time, and I think over 4.5 years, seeing how fast it changes and how we adapt and we have to do things differently, that I don't know what 12 months looks like. That what I do know is I mathematically know how to get somewhere. I've always mathematically known how to acquire money and how to scale something from a money movement side. And this is something that mathematically changes our equation so much that I think that's the biggest unknown. Is it was the same thing when we were doing marketing, when I thought we could only do X, Y, and Z for accounts, but it was based on how much I could get done for account. And then once we started having other people working on cameras, I was like, oh, we could do this, and this for accounts. And then we started getting to it, change what our product and our service looked like. And then fast forward a couple years, the product and service changed so much because I never mathematically figured it with more people in the equation I'd always figured that equation with me doing it all. And then same thing with sales is the sales side has always been a mathematical equation of what I can close out to where what I look at 3 years of MMG looking like has been mathematically what I know I can close out in a 6 month to 12 month, so on and so forth. And now when we go plug 10 more salespeople in, that equation gets really big really fast. And that's what I've been trying to wrap my head around is what are the problems that we're going to be taking on in March, in June, space-wise, staffing-wise, all those things.
About to get exciting.
What are you hoping those problems are going to be?
What kind
of problems do you foresee?
I think it's something that as I've progressed and as I've moved from position to position to position, I think the problem starts lining up with how do I develop a leadership team that's that much better than where they're at? Because up to this point, I've been able to be very connected and very plugged in with almost everyone within the walls. And I think that's one thing that makes, I'm not going to say nervous, the biggest foreseeable problem that in my head is with 2 locations that plug in, that movement forward has to be, my time has to be more devoted to developing the people that are developing the ones under them to become better leaders. And they have to start learning how to develop leaders underneath them if we want to keep the structure going and keep the buy-in from everyone around. You have to build leaders at all levels. And so I think that's my biggest thing is building those leaders fast enough that I've looked at, I look at how much different Ricky is and how Ricky looks at things now from almost 3 years ago when he started. That's the thought process isn't the same. The way he tackles problems so different. I look at Logan, I look at Dalton, I look at Lauren, I look at Dre, I look at how much they've developed, but I also look at the timeline that we've had. That moving forward, we're not going to have a 3-year timeline to be able to do that same thing. We're going to have to make it faster. To where we're going to have to be able to develop Ricky's and Lauren's and Dre's and Dalton's and Logan's and Angela's and Adam's and Alex's, but we're going to be able to have to figure out how to do it at a click at 3 to 6 months.
But the most beautiful thing is that you don't have to do it by yourself.
That is true, but it's also that leadership side that has been developed has to understand how to do that same thing at scale. Where I think most of the time we're, in most people's head, their thought process of working and getting something done is like a day here putting up TVs is like, I feel like I've done nothing today. Even though I'm like sweaty, I'm worn out, like, and I've been working on this a ton, I feel like I've gotten nothing accomplished here. Like MMG movement wise, like it is stupid that I'm hanging TVs in here. I just have to get it done by a certain day, so this is operational. But we should have been in front of ourselves to have somebody else in here doing this, knocking this stuff out, because that is not where my time is most well spent. Like,
But you do a good job hanging TVs.
I mean, that I'm pretty good at.
You got it done pretty quick.
I mean, it's not that difficult of a task, so like, I don't think it's an impressive accolade to put on the resume. But I think that understanding that same thing for leadership, understand that same thing all the way through a leadership forefront as they develop leaders under them, that it's not just always doing busy work, that you can be at work every day from 9 to 5, keep your head down at your desk. That doesn't mean you're doing the most that you could be for the company. That if I take 10 people and I optimize them to get an hour more out of every day, that gives us 10 more hours every day. That's adding another employee to the office without adding another employee to the office. But it's like watching those efficiencies and how effective people are when they're at work, where their time is spent, and having a leadership side that can understand that same thing. So I think that's probably what I foresee working on the most in 2025, because this is going to be dropping like probably the first week of 25. But
2025 is coming in hot.
it is.
Yeah, we officially opened this office, what, January 2nd?
Yep.
Or we have opened this office, I guess, depending on when the shop's.
Did open at January 2nd,
Did
I guess?
open on, That's right. That's right. It'll
Yeah.
be full
It's official.
energy, excitement. I mean,
Rick Ross Radio.
Just on repeat.
yeah.
Maybe some country in there?
Yeah.
Little mix?
I'm psyched.
Adam's actually worried about falling asleep if we play country music. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's worried about falling asleep.
Yeah, no, I
Looking
don't think
forward
once
to it?
people are here, I don't think we have to worry about falling asleep at all.
I think when you're here by yourself hanging TVs and stuff, it has seemed like a very long day. But there was certain things that need to be checked off the list. We got internet up and operational.
that one's big.
Yep. Security's going in, so that's all paid for and handled. So that'll be getting put in. The big tickers getting them checked off the list. Have electrician in on Monday. I don't do electrical work, just so you know.
I mean, we could figure it out.
I mean, we could. I don't want that on my. I don't want to be sitting at home thinking the place is going to burn down. I'll leave that to the professionals.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very OCD about a cord being hanging down anywhere. So pretty much anywhere a cord should be hanging down, I have an outlet put behind it. That'll be happening on Monday. One thing that really, really irritates me is Nebraska Furniture Mart not getting everything here by the 2nd. They'll be here the 3rd, so day
This
2.
podcast is not sponsored by Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Yeah, for real. I will say, though, the lady that helped me, she was very nice. Get some things are out of certain people's control. So,
Yeah, but when did you pick this stuff out?
when was that?
2 weekends ago,
What was that, December?
we got the keys the 15th.
Yeah, I think you went right before that.
No, the weekend before that.
Yeah.
So it'd been like the 7th,
Okay.
whatever that first weekend was of December.
Still
So-
pretty good. I mean,
So that
talking
was
about
about
less than a month.
yeah, that was about 3 weeks from today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think those people, because we told them we were setting up our office, and then they were trying to set up a trade system. I'm like, well, we're not trading anything. But they're like, you have office though. I'm like, yes, but this is a different office. And they're like, all right, great, we'll get you set up on the trade. I was like, we don't need the trade. We're not trading anything. And they really were. I'm like, it's a second new office location. All right, okay. So you don't need the trade. I was like, that was quite the feat trying to get that figured out. And then once we ordered like 10 new Macs and we get like 7 big TVs, and after we started doing that side, then they're like, oh, like you need
yeah,
everything.
like 5-6 couches, like 25 office chairs. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, we have nothing. So that was a full day there.
Yeah, that was a full day at Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Yeah. Dre was not in a good mood. Dre really likes to shoot down most of our spending. Most of the good ideas, when it comes to money, he's not for.
Well, that's kind of what you get for bringing the CFO on a shopping trip.
Yeah, next time
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring him.
You just bring him the receipt afterwards.
That's pretty much what I do now. So, my truck, like I was out shopping all day Saturday, just buying knickknacks, make it seem like people have been here, and yeah, I just acquire stacks of receipts to take to him, so he'll be happy for that. What do you guys envision? Because you three are the ones running this office, so I think that's like a weird thing for me too. Is I feel like I've been in the driver's seat pretty much the whole time this has been here, and I feel like this year I'm like moving to the back. I'm like giving over the front, the driver's seat and the front seat. I'm like sitting in the back.
Along for the ride now.
I feel that's kind of how I feel.
If it makes you feel any better, you can visualize yourself as the pace car out front.
Oh, there you
Then we
go.
have some separate cars behind you. If
Now we got lots of cars.
if that helps at all.
You know, I think here we've got an opportunity to really take this industry by storm in a way because, you know, like you said, we haven't really tried to sell. I mean, we've sold and clients have come our way and we've picked up clients and we've grown organically. We haven't even tried. And so with the talent that's going to be here, us putting effort into what we're doing is just going to be energetic and fantastic. You know, making sure that we've got people here that truly believe in what we're doing and what we can offer to companies to help them grow. And when we've got people here all kind of going in the same direction, I know it's kind of cliche, rowing the same boat or whatever you want to call it, it's going to be special because we've got special people here so far. You know, and I think Rick and I both know that we're just going to let Angela do everything, and we'll just kind of sit back and watch.
You've said that a lot. I'm
I
starting
know.
to believe that that's
Well, I
the
mean,
plan.
we'll come in and like hype people up and stuff for
Yeah.
sure, but then
Yeah.
it's kind of off to you.
That's your time to shine.
I
That's
got
right.
this.
That's
I got
right.
this. Don't you worry about this, guys.
But, you know, bringing everybody in and starting them all at the same time is such a huge deal for them. I mean, the way you've got it set up right now when people can come in and sit down and, you know, their computer's going to be ready for them, their passwords are going to be ready for them, you know, just the little stuff that are on their desks
The
already.
notebook.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a nice touch.
It's going to be, the way I thought about it is like a higher level sales division. You know, this isn't just like some pit where, you know, you're just busting out phone calls all day. Like, this is high level stuff. This isn't Mickey Mouse, you know, we're just going to make 100 phone calls a day and, you know, hope to get someone to say yes. This is a legit place, and that's the way that we see it. High level sales operation where clients can come in and actually feel part of this process and understand what kind of service they're getting, because it's not going to be your, you know, rigmarole working out of, you know, a suite at a Regis office hoping to pick up clients. You know, like, this is a legit deal. And that's the way that I think we're going to run it as. Like, this is an operation of high level people, and it's going to be done in a high level environment.
That's where I think the sales world as a whole, I think there's so many people that just half-ass it. And it's, when we were looking at office space, one of the biggest things that I was focused on was not losing what we have built. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I've been working so hard on this, like, because I don't want it to miss the mark. And I want people to experience the same thing when they come in here that they experience at our current office. Yeah. And I think every office, even from the basement, when people came to the basement, they were like, oh, this is way cooler than what I thought a basement would be. Like, because when we first moved to the basement, I sat down there and I had saw out and everything. I was putting these like wood walls up and everything to where when we did do videos, like, it didn't look like we're in a basement. So I was like halfway finished out the basement. Like, every time we put a desk somewhere, had an electrician come out, put an outlet right next to it. Like, being in a basement, the basement was really nice. And then when we moved into the River Market, it wowed everybody. Like, and I still think back to the River Market, the day we got the keys, June 30th, 2022. And I remember being in there and thinking, like, all we have is space. Like this, like, I got them for a 3-year lease, like, because I'm like, it's gonna be plenty of time. And also, fast forward like 6 months, I'm like, fuck, shit, like, where are we gonna put people? And I'm sitting at that office, and mathematically, I couldn't figure out how to get more people in there. Like, we got rid of these L desks, went to these straight desks. We built this gauntlet down the middle, like. We were putting people in corners everywhere. It was just a disaster. And I was like, we can't miss the mark moving out of this office. Because everyone that came in was like, oh, this is sweet. Like,
Yeah.
And when current MMG HQ, I have this weird thing. I lay in bed at night and I watch documentaries and I look at commercial property. So I know I'm very interesting. But
It's a good word.
yeah, interesting.
Interesting. It's a good word.
But I watch commercial property all the time. I just like to know price tags of what stuff runs, things like that. And it helps me vision where we're at next. And that our other location down the crossroads, when it popped up, I looked through photos and I was like, it was twice as much. And I was like, we have to go look at this. And I remember texting my commercial agent. I was like, hey, can we go look at this? And I have Dre in my ear. He's like, dude, we don't have our current office space figured out, blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, I think our other office space is like $5,500 a month. And he's like, I told him, I was like, $5,500 a month takes us down. We got bigger problems. He goes, the other office is 12. He goes, what if 12 takes us down? I was like, no, I'm not looking at that. I was like, what? The 5 is what the additional is.
Right.
And he goes, the way you look at things is messed up. And so we pulled the trigger on that other office, and it far exceeded what our first office was, and it was the step that we needed to go forward. And I think that's the one thing that unknown of what the next step looks like, and making sure that our steps correlate, that we don't end up taking lateral steps or steps backwards, because these aren't little steps. These are big steps that you're signing leases on, you're signing time, that when you're making them, they have to be right.
Yep.
And it's not like hiring somebody that doesn't work out in a month and you're like, oh, they're gone. Like, whatever, on to the next person. That person didn't do anything that they said they were going to. Like, not a huge mistake. And these can be a lot bigger mistakes. So my thing is thinking about it, but then also not dragging your feet too long, because when great spaces come up, they don't sit on market. Like, our other space could have been leased 10 times over within a week. Like, we looked at that place within 24 hours of it going on market. But it's also, I think there's a lot of people that get in and then they try to over negotiate, and they end up missing out on great opportunities because they're trying to jump over dollars for pennies. And it was something that when we looked at this place, it took me a couple times walking through it. And I will say my wife, Madison, she helps open up my vision a little bit. But she was like, take what you've done in your current office and think about if you do the same thing here. She was just, close your eyes and think about the touches that you've done there, if you can do the same thing here. And now it's like starting to come to reality. And I'm like, okay, we made the right choice. But the crazy thing is, when we've made other steps, the steps are to handle what we have. The steps aren't to acquire more. So this being a step into acquiring more is where, I don't know, just my mind goes that I think probably March, April, we're looking for another spot again. Like, and I think most like business owners think like, oh, like that's wild, that's crazy. I'm like, I look at our timeline that we've had in the last year and a half and how fast that timeline's moved. That's not us going and hunting.
Right.
That's just the world happening to us.
That was us turning on ads.
Yeah. That did change a lot. Which with that side also, like, I'm going to another funding round to get more money, and I plan on putting more money at ads this next year that like we've never seen. It'll be something that if people think they see our ads a lot now, just wait. Like, it is going to be something that we've made a stamp to where a lot of people know who we are right now. 12 to 18 months, we will be a household name around here, that every single person around here will know a marketing agency. And that was the biggest thing when I thought about starting a marketing company. I thought about the fact that you can name a fast food restaurant, you can name a car dealership, you can name all these different industry lines, and they're like, well, that's something that everyone needs. But no one could name a marketing agency, and I think it's because they can't market themselves, and they lack so much that I think it should be a household name. It should be something that everyone knows. It should be something that people look to. I want to run a company that way. I want to work for a company like that. I want my kid going to college to work for a company like that. I know my brother Steve has a concrete company. He needs to work with a company like that. They don't have to be the business owner, but they know so many different people that could formulate into our equation. And that's what we have to build and show the world. I think we're close.
I think we're just getting started, though, in the grand scheme of things.
That is true.
And it felt like that at the last office. It felt like we were just pulling up to the starting line of being a real company and kicking ass. And we were moving fast before that, but that's where we kind of took off from. And that's the exact same thing that's going to happen here.
I wonder if you ever get out of like the back to the starting line deal.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of businesses that get complacent and then 10, 20 years go by and there's not really any progress in them. I mean, we see that all the time with different businesses that come in and talk to us. Most of the ones talking to us are already taking that step or want to take that step to grow and do something different. But a lot of companies kind of falter out on their way to it.
What do you think happens over time that a business owner and an entrepreneur loses that spark. So I think we see it so much with these business owners that come in that they had a dream and they had a vision and something happened and it's not there anymore.
It's hard, man. It's not easy. And so when you've got a lot of people that have dreams and say, yeah, I'm going to do this, I can do this, I'm going to be great, and then they actually have to execute it, they look at it and say, well, you know what, man, it'd just be a lot easier for me if I just, did something else, right? It's I don't have to put a ton of effort into working a 9 to 5 or, working at some job that, pays me my salary every month, and I can be the way I'm going to be, and that's fine. That's okay for some people. But being an entrepreneur, man, it's hard. It's a hard deal. And so if you try and you fail and you've got, issues and problems, I mean, dealing with people walking out or dealing with somebody calling in sick or having to figure out where a new office is going to be, it's tough. And so you just get tired. And, I think that's a lot of challenges, or a lot of the challenge for entrepreneurs and why they lose their spark, man, because it's just hard to do,
I'm tired right now. So
Yeah, but are you going to be ready to get up tomorrow and do it again?
every day.
Right. But you've got that burning, passion inside that you like the hard.
I don't think I know anything besides that.
Yeah.
So it's I think like when you just get to where that's where you live, I think it just changes the game. Like the game is hard. Like, and I think it's any game you want to play, the game's being played. And it's, do you want to go through life and say I played Candyland the whole entire time? Like that's the simple game that you can play, or do you want to go through life and said I played Monopoly, or I played Risk, or I played a game that actually had some tactical being that like had to be done to win. Like, and I think that's where I don't enjoy easy. Like, and I think that's a separating fact. Like, I don't know, like, or I could be the stupid one too. It's just I take on this hard all the time that just doesn't need you to be like, dude, you could relax. Like, your heart's gonna give out before the next person or whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's getting in the arena. That's the joy in it. Like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. But it's also, I feel like that's why a lot of times people sign up is for that hard. Like, is that like a myth that it's easy?
I don't think it's a myth, but I think, people are like, oh yeah, no, I know it's going to be hard. They're just not built for it, right? It starts happening to them, and it's now like, oh, wait a second. Like, this isn't me. Like, I can't do this. Like we talk to business owners all the time. They're like, yeah, I'm starting this business, or I'm going to do this. Cool. How are you going to do it? What am I going to do? I don't know. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Of course not. Right? Like, there's so many things that go into starting a business and being an entrepreneur. I mean, all the risk is, on you, and all
You have to know how to hang TVs.
Yeah, I gotta know how to hang TVs.
If you're going to start, make sure you figure that out first.
That's right. Like, make sure you've got a vacuum to clean up after yourself. I mean, there's all those things that go into it, right? But it's easy to say you're going to do something, right? Everybody can. I'm going to be this, I'm going to do that. So you actually have to do it.
I think there's a value in our world today of just being somebody that does what they say they're going to do.
100%.
I think if you do that one thing, I think you beat 99% of the world. How many people have crossed us in just the last 6 months that said all these things that they're going to do and they don't do any of them? Like, I think that's something that, I don't know, just doesn't resonate with me.
I can think of several. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't resonate with me being that person. Like, my dad, my whole life was like, if you say you're going to do something, you do it.
Yep.
That's how this podcast started, was me lipping off about we should have a podcast. And then 30 days later we had a podcast? Don't waste your time listening to the first 20 episodes. They're not worth a shit to listen to. And they still might not be, so that listen at your own risk. But it's, I think just doing those things, like I text Ricky on Monday that we didn't have a taco review.
Yep.
And I looked up to make sure Graham and Dunn had tacos because I told him, I was like, dude, I'm not going to do it. Like, we're missing the first taco review in 90 something weeks. So I'm talking with Dre, and I'm like, do we have to hit taco review at lunch? We'll just put it on the story. Like, we're not missing it.
Still counts.
Still counts. Story got a lot of engagement too, actually. But it was just the principle of we don't miss podcasts, we don't miss taco reviews, we don't miss when we say we're going to do something. It's crazy how many people I've ran into, and they're like, your guys' consistency is off the chart. But it's showing up and doing what you're going to say. You say you're going to do something and do it, and I think that builds trust in people too. And when you come through over and over and over and over, and there's a value point in that.
You notice how it's rubbing off a little bit too on the team? Like even Logan today in our leadership meeting was like, oh no, you guys have to do the podcast today, right? Because we haven't. It was Christmas yesterday. I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on. This would be an easy week just to say, hey, you know what? We're gonna skip it, right?
Yeah.
But it's rubbing off.
Saying that doesn't even register, though. It's like it has been ingrained so much over the last few years that we'll just, even if it's wildly inconvenient, we'll find a way to get it done.
Yeah. I mean, we podcasted down in Oklahoma.
We did, yeah.
We've podcasted all
So this
over.
might be the 6th. I forgot about Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And
Random Airbnb.
Did we do one at the lodge, or was that just Claycoma Shooters podcast?
That was just theirs.
Okay.
But no, I think it's something that also builds confidence in yourself. Mm-hmm. When you put those non-negotiables and you hit those things, my thing, it builds a confidence in me personally when I'm talking to somebody and it's like, yeah, I don't miss those. Tell me something that you've been consistent with for 150 weeks. Tell me something else that you've been consistent for 90 plus weeks. These business owners that we talk to all the time, they're like, well, I tried this, it didn't work. I'm like, you did it for 3 weeks. They sit there and they bebop around from one thing to another, to another, to another. They've never been consistent with anything they've done for 12 months. Like, and the wildest thing is when we talk to really high level businesses, I'm talking Fortune 500 companies that I've sat at a table with and we discuss things, their idea of judging if something works doesn't even start until 12 months. They will run stuff for 12, 24, 36 months to see if it works.
I think a lot of people do that. You know, they get nervous that something is not going to work. They've implemented this process and they just freak out if it doesn't work right away. You just got to let it simmer. And a lot of people don't have patience to do that.
Well, I think humans are wired to build the worst case scenario and build an outcome. Mm-hmm. That I don't know if I'm just wired wrong or wired differently or what, but like the outcome of us not winning isn't there. Like that's when people all the time, they're like, you just run and gun, like you don't even think twice about it. And Dre's like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I don't lose a second of sleep. I'm like, I just know we win. No matter what we do, we win. And I go, I don't think twice about it.
It's a winner's mindset.
But it's like, if you have people around you that are winners and you have a mentality of getting up and going and fighting every day and putting in what it takes, you will win. And that's what, like, I've just always told my brother, I was like, everything I've done in my life, I feel like I've been successful at. But it's just be consistent with what you need to do and outwork everyone around you. And that's been one of my biggest probably downfalls also, is figuring out where to delegate that work and what does work look like nowadays. That what I want work to be to what work needs to be is two way different things. That I like doing the just manual labor. Like if it was up to me, I'd love just to
Hang TVs?
not hang TVs, but like I would love to be on a construction site doing that. Like I did landscaping for a long time. Like I love that kind of work. Like I feel like it's very satisfying. Like that I can start a job and I can finish a job. Like the hardest thing with this is the job's never done. I never get to see the end of finishing something. To where it's like, I feel like I have a bunch of shit that's just not finished. And it's just a never-ending game that you're playing. So it's like, that's why I like a lot of that manual labor is there's a finish line. We talk about, like, ours is just a starting line. Like, Monopoly, we just keep going past go. Like, the game is never going to finish.
When you hang that last TV, though, it's hung.
It is hung. That's where I came here to hang 7 or 8 TVs today, and when I leave, those will be done. So I can check that off my box.
There you go.
But no,
What do you envision this office as? Because we've talked about it. You know, we've gone back and forth, kind of what you think it's going to be. Like, what do you think it's going to be, and why?
I think of an experience, and like when I go and get decorations and everything, I think about places that I've been and the experiences I've had and what places look like. So that's where I'm so big on aesthetic of how things. What is someone's experience when they come in as a client or somebody that's thinking to become a client, from the second they walk in that front door to how they're greeted, to the drinks that they are offered, to the person that they're sitting with, how's that person dressed. Like, I think of every part of it that I want to experience it when somebody comes here, it is different. That's my biggest thing that I struggle with a lot on. As we grow, we put more systems in place. I want to make sure we never lose the touch, that it's that somebody comes here, I want wow factor. I want something that says, I have never been to a place like that. I have never worked with a company like that. That I wanted just to hold the gold standard of everything. That it's everything we've done, we haven't cut a corner since we've started this. And we've had people come through our walls that want to cut corners. Great, go off, do your own thing. Go cut corners. And it's do it the shittiest, cheapest way possible. You can have those clients. You want to go race to the bottom? Great, have them. That's not what we're going to be. But it's also, companies like that, they can't get a single person to invest $1 in them. Nobody around them believes in what they're doing, and they think it's at the world's fault. And it's because they can't look at themselves in the mirror to see what the problem really is. MMG goes up or goes down because the man I look at in the mirror every day. When I get to drive this somewhere, I have to look at that person to take fault in what, good, bad, and different, I have to take fault. To where it's, what does the experience here look like? I could have went to Nebraska Furniture Mart and bought the cheapest desk and some cheap chairs, and really spent fucking way less than what we did. I could have bought a bunch of random ass computers on Marketplace, and really Mickey Mouse tied this thing together and had some makeshift sales office that could have been done at a fraction of the cost. But what does that client see when they come in?
Mickey Mouse.
But it's like, and I even hate using the terminology of like Mickey Mouse because I'm a big Disney fan.
It's kind of disrespectful.
I'm a Disney fan too. Yeah, I know.
But it's just like a Mod Podge, like throwing of random shit, and people call it a business. And it's like, I go into people's office and it's amazing, like not from a bad way, but I judge people a lot of times from their office, how clean it is. Like I feel like I can read a lot about a person and what their personal space looks like. And it's the same thing about vehicles. And I've always been somebody that takes care of everything I have. I've always had a very high level of what I want my office in the car space. Like, was second I got an office, I went out and bought shelves, and I had this big, huge metal sign made, and it spent all my own money and like decked out my office. But when people came in, they're like, "Your office is nice."
Yeah, people don't do that in the car business, really.
No, but it was like most time people in car business bring in a picture of them with their family, and they set it on the corner of their desk. So if they leave, they have to grab one thing to leave.
Yep.
But it's like, I've always put a stamp of like, when somebody comes in, they should feel like they're in my home. It's how people feel comfortable. It's how people, I don't know. I think that speaks volumes for someone. They should be able to know a little bit about you being in your office. Somebody should come into your office and be able to tell you 3 hobbies that you have. Something that you like to do. Mm-hmm. Oh, this person likes to golf, or they like to hunt. They enjoy drinking bourbon, or whatever it may be. Hey, they like doing X, Y, and Z. They may play music, and they have a guitar in their office, and their kids do these things, and they're involved with this, and that. So, like, I don't know. I think growing up around my dad and going into offices that my dad was going into, these spaces, I think that's just what I was accustomed to seeing, was these like very, very high level people that you would go in and their space was nice. And it's like, you could tell so much about somebody, and it's experience.
Yeah, it's a good icebreaker too. Helps build rapport, helps you get into a more personal conversation, brings those walls down a little bit more, makes people a little bit, I don't want to say pliable, but kind of pliable, right?
I feel like how many times have we had people come into my office at the other space, and they're like, this is nice, it's very relaxing. Like,
Almost every time somebody comes in here.
yeah.
And it's like you essentially copied that style and pasted it across the whole office here.
Yeah, and that's really what I was going for, is I want something that people feel comfortable in. I don't want somebody to come in and feel like, oh, I'm about to get sold.
Yeah, no,
Like,
you definitely accomplished it.
It's a partnership. And like, I've never looked like we've sold someone. And I think that's where I've had a lot of disconnects with people that we've brought on to try to sell for us, is they think that they're salespeople. And if you think that you're a salesperson, you're already 10 steps behind. A great salesperson just focuses on helping people. If you can focus at sitting down and helping figure out someone's problem and how to solve it for them to end up with a better outcome, that's sales. It is that simple. If you sit in whatever it is that you sell, look for a better outcome for the person sitting across the table from you. If you can do that every single time, you can sell anything. I looked at that in the car space. Everyone overcomplicated cars like you were selling cars. I looked for people's wants and needs. There are certain people that I understood very quickly if it was a want. If it's want, what do you want? But then there's families that would come in and they had a need, and they had been through other dealerships, and dealerships didn't listen to them on what those needs were. And they just tried to put them in a car. If you had a family with 2 kids and they're expecting their third, I remember having a family come in, they're looking at Edge, and they'd already looked at 2 other dealerships. I'm like, if you're here to buy Edge, I'm not going to sell you one. And they're like, what? I was like, I'm going to see you again here in 3 to 6 months. I know you're due here soon. And how about you just go try to put 2 car seats in an Edge and see what it would feel like trying to shove a third in there.
Impossible.
They end up buying an Expedition and then coming back 4 months later and thanking me. But it's like I cared about the people that I sold cars to. I still talk to tons of those people. I run into those people all over the place. But it's like, that's sales. And when people just try to sell for a check, people read right through it.
That's not how we're going to do it here, man.
No. And I don't want that. I want people that understand how to sell. I want people that understand what they're doing. But I want them to understand the purpose of why they're doing it. The purpose of why they're doing it is what will make them win. And I have so many people that are like, oh, I'm great at sales. I'm like, I've met you for 3 minutes. I know you're not good at sales. And it's one of those things that we've talked about it from a marketing standpoint and just a business standpoint as a whole, is the accounts that we've never lost that I acquired in the early days. I was like, I can tell you everything about their family. I can tell you everything about their brothers and their sisters. And I'm like, I'm invited to all these companies' Christmas parties every year. Like, we're the only person outside of their company that are invited. And I was like, why do you think I get those invites? I was like, I call them on their birthdays. I call them on Christmas. I sit there and I'm friends with these people. I truly care about their outcome. When we build that across the whole company, and it's something that we're working very hard at right now from a marketing standpoint, that's what a lot of my focus is on developing the leadership side, is how do we care for clients more? How do we take better care of them in the future? Because that is what develops something that's different. And marketing companies have never cared what the outcome is of a business. It was 100% the reason I opened this. I sat on the other side of the table over and over and over from agencies that all they cared about was getting us slammed in a 12-month contract. That's what they're looking for. I had those salespeople, the same salespeople that sold me on marketing, ended up coming up wanting a job selling cars later on because they didn't have a job there anymore. And they're like, well, yeah, like you just had to outsell your 12-month cancellation. That's pretty much the business model.
Yeah.
Oof.
And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we worked for 2 agencies. That's pretty much how it's always set up. I was like, no way on God's green earth would I ever sign up for something like that.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
It's just, morally, I don't feel that's correct.
Yeah.
that is a modern way just to rob people. And then it's like you have that on one side, these huge agencies doing it. Then you have this other side of just people fighting to the bottom in the content world, just half-assed, just throwing up random content that has no direction, no marketing strategy, no really idea what they're doing. And then you live with that forefront over here. And it's like, I don't know which one's worse.
So you got the snake oil salespeople, snake oil, right, agencies.
Yeah.
Or then the guys who just don't know what the hell they're doing, but are going to charge you nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's who we compete with, right?
I'm like speechless most of the time when I talk about this.
Right.
Because it sounds arrogant. It sounds
Yeah.
like I feel like I sound arrogant like when we even speak on things like this. But quite frankly, since the day I started this, I haven't been impressed with anyone in the marketing space. And we get the same story over and over and over. And then when we get these accounts that stay with us for 3+ years, that I will say there's accounts that we've had that we don't have now that we've messed things up on 100%. There's accounts that we've had that some people aren't meant to be business owners. There's some people that the second anything gets hard, they have a little business, they run like 5-6 people, and there's some people that will just be an employee of themselves forever. And if that's what you want to sign up for, fine. You don't need to pay for marketing. Don't be you don't need to pay for marketing. You can sit, run your business, just flatline. What I will say is with inflation, everything like that, you need to figure out something because you're probably about 9 years away from being out of business. But that's why a lot of businesses don't have a long timeline. But then it's also, there's a lot of those business owners that are older and they're like, well, you could say that like blah, 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 but you haven't been in business long enough. And I get a lot of the downgrading things my direction because I haven't been in business for 35 years.
Not yet.
But I look at it as education is based on what you're willing to learn. In my 4.5 years, I guarantee you I have more education than most business owners that have been in it for 30, 40 years. But I eat, sleep, breathe this stuff all day, every single day. I sit at tables with business owners that have been in it for generations. And I listen to what they've done. I listen to those people. I seek mentorship. I seek all this information around and just become a sponge to all of it. And listen to podcasts about successful business owners. Listen to the mistakes and the failures that they've made. Listen to those things and open up your ears to not make the same mistakes. And if you do those things and you get to where that's just all you're digesting all the time, it gets to where you end up becoming a much better player in the game. And I think practice will never make perfect, but you're striving for perfection. And if you're always practicing the game, it's not like someone makes it to the NFL the day they get to the NFL, they're like, oh, no, I have practice anymore. I think that's what most entrepreneurs do. It's like the day that they like get their LLC and they open up the doors, like, oh, done learning. And I'm like, that's the starting line. We're back at it again. Like, no matter what, it's the game's evolving, the challenges are evolving, the opportunities are evolving, all of it. You have to keep your eyes open. You have to keep learning. You have to keep pressing forward. And I think that's just, I don't know. I think there's a lot of doors to open out there. I think a lot of people just struggle figuring out how to open them. So, no, I think that was a long-winded answer to what this office was going to be. What was that, like 30 minutes ago that you asked that?
So
think
you
it was a
haven't
good
thought
answer.
about it at all.
No, it's pretty much all I think about at night. I actually haven't been looking at office space since we signed on this. So.
Well, that's probably good. At least get this one set and rolling
Then I'll start
before you
looking.
start looking, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the next one for?
Well, we're going to run out of room for marketing and content soon.
That's true. I guess we'll give them the next one.
Yeah, because we got, moving this over here, I've mapped out, we got 12 seats available over there now. So once we plug in another 6 to 8, we'll be on market for another place.
You don't just want to put 6 people on the bus, 8 people at that conference table. Probably have like 10 people out of the lobby up front.
I mean, if we're not doing sales calls in there, then
You and Dre can share an office.
I told Dre if I'm not over here, I was like, because he was like, I thought I was gonna be flexing back and forth too. I was like, yeah, you are. And I was like, you're gonna have to do all like employee contracts, like all that stuff over the new place. He's like, I don't have an office. I was like, if I'm not over there, just use mine. So I've actually thought about us flexing back and forth opposite, and then him offloading his office, which would then free up 2 more spots over the other
Hey.
spot.
There you go.
But he also needs like filing cabinets and stuff like that, and I don't put any of that shit in my office. So
There's got to be a cool looking file cabinet out there, right?
I mean,
Somewhere. An aviation filing cabinet.
Oh.
That'd be cool. I got a very good feng shui going on, so
There you go.
I don't need Dre's filing cabinets to mess that up for me.
He'll take your picture down and put his back up every
Yeah.
other day.
Every other day with flipping out
Flip
photos.
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I like it. Dre's not even here. He's still getting crap in the podcast.
I know.
Just in
Okay.
case he listens.
Yeah, he's not listening. But no, he's come a long way. It's also nice having somebody that picks up a lot of slack in a lot of different directions. That I'm not wearing an HR hat. I promise you that. I could probably be the biggest HR problem we have. I'm not doing the accounting side of things. I'm really good at driving the ship, all the weight that comes behind it. I'm not the best at managing, so got a lot of great people around that handle all that stuff. So
I think they enjoy doing it. Dre, maybe not as much as everybody else, but
yeah, he'll get offload. We have a plan here in the near future. He'll get offload a lot of his stuff, so he'll start helping me out more probably this next year.
yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah,
He does the important stuff behind the scenes that you don't really realize how, it's super important. Like, he needs to be doing what he's doing.
oh for sure. Give him a lot of crap, but he makes a lot of the operation happen. So keeps us out of court.
And he prints
It's a
the
big one.
checks, so that's important.
Yeah, he does.
That's
all
what I
that.
meant. That's the most important thing, right?
I still sign them. I kind of like that job, though. That's one thing I do feel pretty accomplished when I
Yeah.
do. That stack's getting pretty big. Trey brings in that stack now. It sets on my desk. I'm like, damn. But
We're making a difference in people's lives too, right? Like, that's the best part about having a business, I think, is being able to change all those lives for everybody that's working for you and
Yeah.
see them grow and, be able to take care of their families in different ways. It's, that was my most, that's what I enjoy the most of my own company, was just being able to do that.
yeah, it's something that I think also giving people the control back in their lives and giving people the control to change a future. I think a lot of people get chained to the ground at a job and they get stuck in a cubicle and they have no voice. And I feel like we do a really good job of people having a voice. And I mean, when people move the needle forward for us, it doesn't go unrecognized. And that's my deal is I think a lot of people in life think that they are doing something that's moving the needle forward. In reality, they're not. And I also think a lot of people just think that they have more value than they have. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's saying that you have to keep evolving to gain more value, that when you come onto a company and you sit somewhere, if you have skill set and say if it's on a grading scale of 1 to 100, you have a skill set of 4, then you're paid at a skill set of 4. You increase your skill set to a 10, you get paid to a 10. And as you keep increasing skill set, and that's where you talk about practice is done outside of work. That when you go home, that's when you practice. And it's game time is when you're at work. So I look at listening to podcasts outside of work, studying marketing outside of work, reading when you go to bed. Those kind of things are what that's what moves the needle forward in life. And I think that's the thing that most people don't do. And they think that they have this job every day and they're supposed to, NFL players get paid to play. They don't get paid for practice. They're paid for games. But they're required to go to practice. They're required to do all these other things. And you have practice squad guys, but the the big players get paid per game. They get checks after every game. Like, you look at it, and work is the game. You practice when you're at home, when you're on the weekends, and that's where so many people think that this disconnect. And then, of course, then you have all the people out there that'll bitch all day long. I'm not putting in any hours outside of work. I'm not paid for that. That's why you're always going to get paid at a fucking 4 the rest of your life. Those people will get paid at the lowest level their whole life, and they will bitch about it forever. But then there's people that really put in learning and developing and honing in a skill set, and then they get rewarded for it, and it's crazy how they move up. And it's the wildest thing, because there's such a negative outlook on that when they're like, well, yeah, of course, you're the business owner, so you want everyone to work at home and put in. I'm like, you don't have to work on anything for us. Work on increasing your skill set of what you bring to the table. Because it's funny when people balk that they want a pay increase because the company's moving forward. Great. What piece of that movement did you have a part of? Because you've worked on the same 10 accounts since the day you started, and then all these new accounts that we onboard and all the new people that we brought on, and all them, they get paid on those accounts. So what did you do to increase the company on this side? Because in our equation, if you want to look at what you do every single day, you have done nothing different from the day one to now. So why do you bring more value to the table now? And that's why I look at it as like, I feel like that's a pretty easy question. Well, I've done X, Y, and Z. I've learned how to do this, and I can now do this. Great. What do you think that's worth? We'll come to a conclusion, and then there's your pay raise. No problem. I'm probably the easiest sell on that. Like, I'm the easiest person to sell. I'm like, hey, I do X, Y, and Z, and this is why I think there's value to it. Great, here you go. But if you're like, yeah, I want a pay raise. Why? Because I come to work every day. Oh, great. Because I do my job every day. Oh, okay, cool. So, I mean, we had a whole group of content creators. They just showed up and did their job. They didn't do anything extra. And then they got pay raises, and it led to us creating a fucked up culture in the content room. And then they walk out because we put a line in the sand. The second they got told no, they were like babies, like an infant child. Once they got told no, they just screamed and they cried, and then they want to walk out. That's not how our world works. Those people that have that mentality will always live at the bottom of the food chart. Like, if you want to make it to the top, increase your skill set, increase what you know how to do, increase your social skills. There's a value right there most people don't focus on. They think being a hermit crab is going to make them more money. Great. If you want to be that, learn how to code. Learn how to use ChatGPT better. There's going to be so much room for financial gain in the next, years to come. But understanding AI better than the next person. There's a value point there. Great.
There's going to be new jobs, just like you're going to have like an AI director.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you become an expert in that, it's just like anything else. Like, people who are now coders, like, you can develop software. Like, you're so much more valuable than some other people. Just like learn a little bit about this stuff. And you don't have to be an expert, but if you understand this better than somebody else, you're a lot more valuable to the company than somebody who's not.
Yeah. If somebody's watching this and you're phenomenal at AI and plugging everything in, I'll hire a position on that. So if somebody's listening and you're great at AI, you know how to make all the connections, automate things, we will hire an automation AI director.
Love to have that person.
I'm all in.
Yep.
But there's skill sets and there's value points of what somebody deserves to make. And at this day and age of people just thinking because they go somewhere and they sit at a desk for X amount of hours, that they should get paid for it. Like, that's where the whole work from home thing, I took a hard stance. I was like, that will not be us. Because like, well, yeah, I get paid hourly, and then I got this thing that moves my mouse around so they know my computer's on. Like, that shit just irritates the fuck out of me. Like, that could be a whole podcast on its own. I feel like I'm getting off on a tangent. But
So no working
The effort
from
people put into like not working, figuring out ways to like get around the system. Just think if they put that effort into themselves and actually doing something to better themselves.
What a
Mind-blowing.
thought.
What a concept.
You should sell something on that.
I should write a book just based on that,
You
right?
should. It should be the easiest book to sell. It could be like 10 pages long.
That's right. Yeah. I interrupted you. Rick, what's up?
No, I wasn't going to say anything important.
I don't think
I lost it.
I think I'm out of things to say.
We're excited, though. We're excited for 2025 and what that's going to bring, what the sales department's going to bring, and all the new headaches we're going to give you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the three of us, I think we, definitely want to say thank you for, putting this into place for us as a team, and, giving somebody else the keys to, drive you around a little bit.
My brand new Ferrari. Here you guys go.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Yeah. It's going to cost you a lot less in maintenance, hopefully.
No,
Make you a lot
actually,
more
this
money.
has cost me way more than a Ferrari would.
Well, yeah, we haven't
100%.
we haven't started driving it yet.
Yeah.
Just wait. It's still in the garage right now, buddy.
Mathematically, we figure, yeah. But what we're pay here a month, I could have a Ferrari.
Ooh, that would be nice.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Then we could get to deals faster.
Right.
But only two of us.
Well,
Yeah.
So
Take turns. It's okay.
yeah. No, I apologize. I probably wasn't worth a whole lot on this podcast. This has worn me down a little bit more than anything else, I think, MMG wise yet. Just the amount that's went into it, plus with everything else that's moving. This is the most tired I've been, but it's also a state that I like to be in. Because I know when I hit states like this, it's what other people aren't willing to put in. I know it's going to yield a larger outcome. So it's I don't know if you can tell on the podcast, but yeah, a little worn out right now.
Yeah.
But
It's all right. We start a week from today.
week from today, it's go time.
Full go at this place.
Yeah, this will have dropped late enough though that on this now you'll know that we dropped a new website. So we've had that in production for the last almost 3 months to get that operational by the beginning of January. We're rolling out nationwide beginning of January. We're going to have 6 to 10 new salespeople starting beginning of January. We have a ton of new accounts onboarding right now. So I think with just all of those things happening at once, it's just been a big weight. So once all of those things kind of happen and they're done, I know I'm gonna feel a little bit of relief.
It's that building from the top down, buddy.
Yeah. So no, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good, and I'm excited. And I don't know, as everyone keeps developing, the course keeps changing. I know I say we stay the course. The vision, the mission's the same. How we get there keeps changing. So we keep figuring out faster ways to get there, and we're all over it. Here's the 25 and the new office and the sales team.
That's right.
we're ready for it.
Thank you guys for being on. It's the
Our
M3
pleasure.
podcast.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.